So it takes all that work just to change the oil.
Yep.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Just Like Smith channel. In today's video, yeah, you see it. It's gonna be a little bit different of an intro, but we've got the cab off of the truck and the engine is completely out of the truck. So we are at Main Street Auto and Diesel in Frankfort, Kentucky, and Danny has knocked it out of the park getting this thing apart. And so far, we've learned quite a bit. One of the things is that the transmission has been rebuilt in this truck. It has 98 something thousand miles on it, so I was pretty surprised by that. But other than that, he hasn't really got into the motor just yet, but we haven't found any new problems. So everything came apart good. I'm gonna go ahead and throw up a time lapse of them taking off the cab, and I didn't get a time lapse of them pulling the motor out, but according to Danny, it was pretty quick and simple and easy, and he got it done in like 20 minutes. So yeah, it wasn't nothing to pull the motor with. I just left and we went and grabbed a bite to eat, and then I came back and the cab's off and my motor's gone. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and roll some of that footage of all that stuff coming apart. I think that'll be interesting for you guys to see. And then we're gonna talk to Danny himself and go over to the parts table and go over some of the parts that are gonna be going back on the truck. Shout out a couple of sponsors that have been a part of this build and made this possible. Just stay tuned and enjoy this little edit right quick, and then I will catch back up with you guys whenever we're talking to Danny over at the parts table. So where do you think it was leaking at mainly? Right there?
Yeah, exhaust manifold.
Yeah. So those new gaskets will fix that. See, because it even blacks the back side of this bucket right here.
Cracked right there.
Oh, the manifold itself? Oh yeah, I see that. So I'll have to add that to the list. All right, guys. The cab is off. Got back in the truck. What are you doing, Rhett? Alright guys, so sitting right here in front of me on the engine stand is the motor out of my truck, and this is at Main Street Auto and Diesel in Frankfort, owned by Danny himself. So Danny, we're gonna go ahead and walk everybody through some of the parts that are going on this truck and kind of what you recommend to do whenever you do one of these bulletproof jobs. I hate calling it that, but at the end of the day, that's what a lot of people understand this as, is bulletproofing the truck, so to say. So pretty much, I guess let's start with these Powerstroke products heads. As far as Powerstroke products goes, have you ever put these heads on the trucks? Because we got these from Blessed Performance, and we've heard nothing but good about these heads from Blessed Performance. These are O-ringed, and can you kind of go over what an O-ringed head does or how that will help it last longer?
Yeah, so an O-ring head is where the cylinder head has cut a groove in it by a local machine shop or the parts supplier themselves. Then a small wire is then pressed into that groove. What that does is it creates a better seal in between the head gasket, the cylinder head, and the block in the combustion chamber to keep compression in. It also helps with not ever needing to have to do head gaskets again, hopefully. And
hopefully.
This is the setup right here. I also recommend Kill Devil diesel heads. We have very good luck out of PSPs and Kill Devils.
So, of course, as you guys know, studs, head gasket issues, head bolts. Whenever you install a brand new set of heads, you want those things to be secured to the block properly. And we're going to be running some Gator head studs. Have you had good luck out of the Gator head studs? These were also sent to us by Blessed Performance. So huge shout out to Matt Story at Blessed Performance.
So Matt Story actually turned me on to these Gator head studs. For the cost of these compared to ARP, I have had tremendous luck out of the Gator head stud. I'm going to be honest, I like the way they fit. I like the threads better than them. I prefer Gator all the way over ARP. We use them both, but if I had a choice, I would definitely choose Gator.
And now, of course, if somebody was to drop their truck off and they're a big, huge ARP fan, because I know there's a lot of them out there, you obviously will still back with warranties and stuff like that using ARP head studs over Gator.
100%. Obviously, what a customer wants is what a customer gets. If they prefer ARP, that's what we'll go with.
Okay, and then moving on to some push rods. We've done some RCD push rods. Now, you personally, have you ever used RCD push rods?
I have.
Okay. Did you have good luck out of them?
I've had great luck out of them. I didn't order these, so I can't justify, but are these 6.4 push rods or 6 lead?
Yeah, they're 6.4, I'm pretty sure.
I recommend 6.4 push rods at all times.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know when Matt was talking to me about these, because we had originally had the Powerstroke Products ones, and they were, I think, he thought they were too long.
Correct.
So he went with these, and he said these were shorter. So I assume that's probably 6.4.
Correct. Your 6.4 push rods are shorter. However, which if you're using factory heads and having them machined, your factory cylinder heads might be 8 thousandths to 10 thousandths of material taken off in order to get a flat surface. A 6.4 push rod creates the proper rocker arm to lifter clearance.
Okay. So speaking of lifters, I've talked to quite a few companies about doing, like studs and all of that stuff in a 6.0, like having it studded. And no one has really mentioned doing lifters to my truck, which Danny was blown away by, because in all the trucks that he puts head studs in and he has the cab off and he has the motor out, yes, the motor has to come out to do the lifters, because the way that it's designed to get to the back lifters, you have to take apart like the rear main cover and all of that stuff. Danny knows all about that, but you have to take apart a lot of stuff on the back in order to even get to them, so you have to have the motor apart from the transmission. So these are your lifters, and he highly recommends replacing these. So if you have checked with a place locally on having your truck studded, how many lifters are there? Holy cow.
16 lifters.
16 lifters. So anyway, that's a lot of lifters that could possibly fail if they're old and worn out. So if you're already in there spending $5,000-$6,000 at a shop and they're not even recommending or making you throw some new lifters in the truck, just go ahead and ship your truck to Danny, because that is something that needs done. And even if you still want to leave it there, make them put some lifters in it, because apparently that's very, very important, because that's a common failure on the 6-liter anyway. Okay, now moving on past the lifters, we've got that taken care of. We've got the studs taken care of. I see some XDP stuff in here. I think Danny has a regulated return that he recommended for us, so we went ahead and bought a regulated return to dropped off with the truck. What exactly is the regulated return?
Regulated return is a help on the return fuel system, longevity, and the lifetime of injectors.
And so what he means, he showed me here earlier, so I've already learned something by coming here, surprisingly. This right here is I guess just like a plug that goes into the block where the fuel rail normally goes in from the front. So that fuel is just going straight in, and then it dead ends back here, and I think that's what they refer to as dead head or something like that. So there's going to be fuel lines in the front of the head up here, and then in the back of the head as well. And then all of that is going to go to the regulated return, which is this piece.
Correct.
And then that has a gauge in this box. So you'll be able to like see
Correct.
Fuel pressuring and stuff like that. And then we also have, will the fuel pressure gauge that I already have, will that still work?
It will, yes.
Okay. So we'll get to watch our fuel pressure still, and then we'll actually be able to, I guess you can adjust.
You can regulate fuel.
Right, okay. So regulate the fuel pressure with that. So pretty much this will help, like bigger injectors, which we're going to get into. We're going to be doing injectors on the truck. This will help get fuel to the injectors and maintain proper fuel pressure. And then as far as this motor coming completely apart, obviously you're going to need new O-rings, new gaskets. There's a lot of gaskets and O-rings in this engine. I guess these are intake gaskets.
Correct. And there's also
valve cover gaskets.
some parts that are not here that we're using. We always recommend a Ford OEM oil cooler as well.
Yeah, so this is, we just had this small table set over here, so we wanted to line everything up for you guys and go over some of the main points, but there's still other important things that we'll go over in a future video, if not later on in this video. But pretty much this is a full gasket setup, a full gasket kit from Powerstroke products right here, so you can check them out. They're linked in the description box down below. And then this is a XDP regulated return. I'll try to remember to link that down below as well, and it comes with all the stuff that you need, and you highly recommend doing that with the cab off.
Correct.
So if you're having your truck studded, even with factory injectors, is this a good idea?
Very good idea.
Very good idea. Okay, along with a FAS. Correct. You really recommend a FAS, even with stock injectors, guys. So here you got the head gaskets, and these are supposedly, I don't know much about these. I don't know if Danny's ever used these, but these are supposed to be specific for an O-ringed head because there's like thickness differences. Do you know anything about that?
That's correct. There is a lot of your Fail Pro gaskets. Some of the Molly kits, they're not Mall kit, I shall say, are not.
Okay, you can't have all the people in the comments getting mad at you.
That's right. There's a lot of gaskets that are actually listed as not usable for an O-ring
right,
head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course Matt at Blessed Performance, he has a video kind of going over that some more as well, so don't forget to check out his YouTube channel. And then last but not least, pretty much, I shouldn't say last, there's still a bunch of other stuff that we're not going to be going over in this video, but this is a Stage 2 cam from the same people that make the push rod set. This is a River City Diesel Stage 2 cam. Now, have you ever used the River City Diesel cams?
Personally, I have not ever used the River City Diesel cam.
What other cams are there out there that you have used that you could recommend to people?
From different builds, I've used Wagler cams. I've used stock OEM brand new cams. I've used some Warren cams. As far as the River City Diesel, I've never used, but no different than the rest of them that go in.
All right, yeah, so as far as install goes, even though he's never used this one, it's no different, but this one was recommended by Matt at Blessed Performance, so I assume that he's pointing me in the right direction. We're going to try this baby out. So we'll find out if anything goes wrong with it, I guess. Hopefully not. But we'll find out just how good it is and what kind of gains and stuff. I think this is just the idea of a Stage 2 cam on like a upgraded horsepower truck is just to get more air out of the engine or something like that. That's kind of how Matt explained it to me.
Yeah, to create more air for sure. Obviously, the life of the engine is the fuel and the air. A bigger cam is always going to help, especially with RPMs and so on and so forth.
So what we're going to do next is this motor is going to get completely tore down. Of course, the flywheel coming off and the heads and everything. But as far as like for the people that may want to try this at home, Danny, like what kind of sequence do you go with this in? Like as far as, you don't have to go over from start to finish, but you kind of start by, I guess, taking the turbo off and then...
Well, we'll start with taking all the accessories off, the clutch fan, the alternator, the wiring harness, the fuel injector control module, the turbo, the intake, the valve covers, the rocker boxes, the heads, and get it down to the block. And then, you know, when we go to replace the rear lifters, obviously we'll remove the high pressure oil pump, IPR valve, the rear cover, rear main seal, flywheel, and make our way in there to where we can pull the J tube out.
Yep, so what he's saying is you have to take all this apart, like I was telling you earlier. You got to take all this back stuff apart to get to those lifters. And then, of course, all of this stuff is going to get all new gaskets. So before, I do have a rear main seal leak, I think he said.
Yeah.
So the truck did drip like maybe a puddle like this big. Gotcha. It did leak a little bit over time, and then he said the valve cover gaskets are leaking a little bit too. So all of this stuff, what really made me happy was seeing whenever I came in here, my truck was wrapped up in some plastic and covered up. And then as you can see down here, obviously it's not his problem that I've spent an ungodly amount of money, powder coat and everything underneath it, because he's just a diesel mechanic, you know, so, but he still takes pride in his work. So all of this stuff was cleaned off, wiped down, you know, a full teardown on one of these trucks, and then having the motor out before he pulls the heads off. So I don't know if you guys have watched any videos like where they're taking the engine apart, but there's coolant that goes everywhere. So not really that coolant would hurt powder coat, but it's more of just like a cleanliness thing and him just taking his time and caring about the customer's product or the customer's truck, however you want to go about that. And just making everything clean. So the engine will get the heads pulled off while it's on the engine stand instead of on the truck, and then everything goes all over all of your suspension. So of course, if you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, you're probably doing stuff similar to what I'm doing on your truck as well. So if you have a 6.0 and you've put a lot of time and money into the underneath, if you ever were to have your truck touched here, as you can see, it will be protected and caution will be taken care of. And he also did make a note on Devin's necklace. He said that would not be allowed here because that could scratch a customer's vehicle. So Danny's a great guy. And so yeah, that's pretty much the gist of thing, guys. That is that's the update for you all on the trucks. I know y'all been wondering where it's at, where it's been. Well, here it is. And another cool thing that I want to go over right quick is the transmission is coming out of the truck. I haven't decided yet if we're going to do a built one or not. He does that as well, of course. But all of this stuff before it goes back in will get cleaned and stuff, and then he bolts the transmission to the engine and sets it all in there like as an assembly, you know, a whole shebang all together. But he's going to clean everything. He doesn't have to do that, but he's just going to clean it all just to clean it all and just be more professional and make everything look nice going back together. It's going to be picked up nicer than it was dropped off, and that's the goal here. So I think that's going to be about all for today's video, guys. Right here, I can't believe I'm standing beside my motor out of my truck. It's kind of scary, but I feel like we're in good hands here, and you all should definitely check out their Facebook page and give them a call. Their phone number's on their Facebook page if you have any questions. There are trucks from all over the US that get worked on here, so you can ship your vehicle if you can't find anybody. Like this place is about an hour and a half from me, so luckily it was pretty close and I could drive the truck here. It definitely does have a cracked head, but I still limped it here, and now it's in good hands. So if you have a truck with a blown head gasket, or if you're just wanting, you know, just to have it studded and your truck's in good shape, you know, he does everything from mild to wild. His words is what he said earlier. So if you want to do bigger injectors like we're going to be doing, which I should talk about right quick because I said that I would, we're going to do 175 30s, and those are, what's the brand of them? So that's going to be a Holders injector. So if you've been interested in Holder injectors and how they last, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. You'll get to see it if one goes out or something like that. Then we can make an update video and Danny can replace it and put it back in, and we'll just give him some more work. But anyway, if you're interested, like I said, people ship their vehicles from all over and have Danny build them. I think he just finished up one from Missouri or somewhere right before I had dropped this one off. It was from far away. And Matt Story, he's all the way in Wyoming. He's like 4 days of driving away. And he's actually the guy that recommended me to this guy. So if somebody in Wyoming knows about somebody in Kentucky, I felt there's got to be some good things going on there, guys. So don't forget, hit that subscribe button. It's going to be a good next video. But always remember, everybody starts out as nobody, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Why is it recording? I hit the wrong button.
Yeah.